RMJ, the Mystery Hospital, also known as Revenge Mutation Jack, the Mystery Hospital, is an interactive horror J-drama developed by System Seicom and released for the PlayStation and Sega Saturn in 1997. Seicom are known mostly for their cinematic adventure games such as Lunacy, Rompo, and Mansion of Hidden Souls. They were incredibly skilled at art design and presentation and used those skills to create distinct, impressive games on very limited hardware. Whether CGI or live action, it's undeniable that Seicom, along with their big brother Synergy Interactive, were leagues above the West when it came to making fully realized movie games. They were deeply aware of the boundaries they were working within and knew how to push them as far as possible. This sense of polish and confidence is found in Seicom's whole ludography, not just their more cinematic works. For example, here's a game they made for the 3DO. It's a virtual tour of a real-life Japanese museum dedicated to the works of Yamada Kamachi, a poet and painter who tragically died at the age of 17. The museum features his watercolor paintings and sketches, all of them discovered after his death. His art is also featured on the front and back covers. The game includes replicas of his guitar and telescope, along with photos of the real thing for comparison. There's even a small biography detailing his life and passion for art. This game was one of the very few to be published by TV Asahi, one of Japan's biggest television networks. And it doesn't stop there. Hell, they made Gabal Screen. That's probably one of the best games ever made. They made an alien farming game for the PlayStation called Astronoka. They made 2 games about a time-traveling vampire detective. They made a live-action murder mystery set on a train.
Huh?
They helped Sega out with Deep Fear just because they're nice like that. I think my case is thoroughly rested. System Seicom were in a league of their own. They excelled at everything they did, whether it be movie games or plain old games or abstract multimedia software.
Dissection for PlayStation.
And RMJ certainly doesn't betray this tradition. One night, a massive explosion occurs within the ST General Hospital, trapping 4 unlucky people inside it. You play as Hajime, a man who likes bikes and rock. He came to the hospital to visit his childhood friend Ryo, a power-is-everything type of guy who'd been recovering there after a car accident. Accompanying Hajime is their mutual friend Tomoe, a Genki skater bro who the intro bizarrely describes as being bright. Also stuck in his mess is the rookie nurse Aya, who is assigned to take care of Ryo. The explosion leaves the hospital on lockdown, with no way for them to escape or contact the outside world. All they find is a lingering sense of dread that turns into full-blown terror once they realize the explosion unleashed a deadly virus that is slowly killing all of them. Your job is to guide the 4 little guinea pigs through this oversized quarantine zone, lead them to safety, and hopefully uncover the dark conspiracy they've become unwilling pawns of. These stills are pretty goofy, but they do a good job of communicating all you need to know as quickly as possible. It's like a synopsis for cavemen. We start in the hospital lobby. Our immediate objective is to look around for just about anything. The phone lines are all cut, and there's no one around save for our quirky quartet who stop the game to yell at me every 5 seconds.
とりあえず探そうよ。
通じないの？
ぐずぐずしちゃいられねえな。
急ぎましょう。
大丈夫かな。
急ぎましょう。
この音は。
ぐずぐずしていられないわ。
This happens every few steps you take and it goes on for the entire game. But it's actually not as bad as it seems, believe it or not. For one, the gameplay is already slow enough that these barely count as interruptions, and the game is only about 2 hours long and fairly easy save for a few annoyances. It's not something you'll deal with for very long, and I think the payoff for sticking with the game all the way through is more than worth it. They're clearly trying to do something with it anyway. These horror movie normie teenagers all freaking out and bickering among each other. I get it, and I appreciate it, but I just think it could have been conveyed more elegantly. Your friends do have a lot to say at least, and there's plenty of missable interactions and items they will comment on. RMJ has 2 unique gameplay mechanics, the first of which we can call the sense button. You see, the constant fluff dialogue can actually be quite important every now and then. Every time a friend talks about seeing or hearing or smelling something, that's your cue to press X and use your senses to figure out what's wrong. You'll be doing this a lot during your playthrough, but it really doesn't get in the way at all. RMJ is overall a fairly streamlined and frictionless experience, even if it seems obtuse or overwhelming at first. Just being thorough is enough to get you through most obstacles, and the game autosaves often enough that deaths are minor setbacks at most. It knows not to get in its own way too much. It knows its appeal lies not in being a complex challenge, but in building up a big mystery and letting you wander this empty hospital, admiring its eerie CG stillness as you listen to your faint, bit-crushed heartbeat. This entire game looks like a Moonlight Syndrome cutscene. We uncover a newspaper article about a global pandemic caused by a deadly virus called lamia and its arrival in Japan. Tomoe mentions hearing something in front of this elevator, so we press the sense button. The power then turns back on, so we decide to split up. One group checks the security room on the first floor while the other goes up to the second floor. Who goes where is determined by Ryo's cool guy coin toss. He's so cool he wears sunglasses at night and indoors. Heads means Hajime and Aya go to the second floor while Tails is the security room. What's really weird is how eventful the Heads route is compared to Tails. In Heads, you get to check out the director's office, see his family portrait, read about eugenics, get his key, die in an explosion, meet a new character, and have an action movie escape scene. Meanwhile, in Tails, you duck under a shutter and go into a room where you watch everyone else do all the fun stuff and then go outside and awkwardly meet a new character. Diverging routes is a fun idea, but I'm not sure why they even bothered in this case. Here's a tiny moment in the Heads route that I enjoy.
見た今の。誰かいるみたいだったけど。
Classic stuff, very quaint. It almost feels like they wrote this corny J-horror script and some cosmic accident transformed it into a game instead of a movie. Not that I'm complaining. Within the director's office we discover an article about a report on a long-extinct dominant race of humans who are believed to possess perfect antibodies which render them impervious to disease. There's also the revelation that the hospital appears to be built in ancient ruins belonging to said race. Aya hears footsteps from behind us and we see this biohazard-style hunter cutscene, except the creature in question is far more terrifying than any hunter. This is Misato, the mysterious beauty who doesn't actually know or do anything, despite the game's insistence on her being some kind of key player. Instead, she feels more like some spiteful writer's ex-girlfriend insert, as she does nothing but berate you and complain about everything. You really feel like you're in late 90s Japan getting verbally abused by the average Namie Amuro fan. Let's just make our way back before this place explodes a third time. There's a weirdly amazing bit of facial animation here with Misato pursing her lips for a moment. Ryo presents a flashlight, one that we would have found had we done the Tails route, and we decide to check out the security room together with our fancy new key. We then get a view of the hospital's camera system. This is the game's autosave. Someone's actively watching us and recording our moves. I don't know why, but it's probably for the same reason why it says MJ captured plan success when you die. This game does a pretty great job tying all its elements together. The cinematic stuff is elevated by the gameplay instead of just being some obligatory busy work you do. And speaking of cinematic stuff, let's take a small look at this game's development. RMJ was directed by Akiyoshi Imazeki, a longtime Japanese film and drama director who's been working since the 80s. This alone should explain pretty much everything that's going on here, but I'll let the man himself take over. The following footage is possibly the only scrap of existing behind-the-scenes media for RMJ.
どうもこんにちは、今関明義です。僕は本来映画とか、テレビドラマの演出をしているんですが、今回はゲーム、MJ というフル CG のゲームを作っています。これは5人のキャラクターが出演して、僕の持てる力、映画的なエッセンスをいっぱい閉じ込めた、素敵な作品になっていると思いますので、ぜひ、期待してください。
I wasn't kidding when I called this game a J-drama. It's very clearly what they're going for. Their previous efforts were very Western-inspired, classic haunted mansions in creepy small towns. But the energy in RMJ is very loud and bombastic, a big departure from the reserved and mature tone of their earlier catalog. The game is separated in chunks that would easily fit an episodic format. The cutscenes all have super quick cuts, exaggerated acting, fancy camera tricks, nothing ever sits still. The characters will mention a disease, and then newspaper text about said disease pops up on the screen for 2 seconds. I can't pinpoint its exact inspirations, but the one thing it does remind me of is Takashi Miike's MPT Psycho series. Also, it's not hard to guess why there might have been some anxiety around killer viruses and general disease in late 90s Japan. Imazeki does have another game directing credit, but it's for a cheap FMV game about dating an idol at a water park. A true Renaissance man. The intersection of games and Japanese TV actually goes much deeper than this. Just take a look at Grauen no Torikago, an episodic horror series for the Dreamcast with daily updates that you could unlock through connecting to the internet. Why does it always come back to this fucking thing? Not only is it just a straight up J-drama or Idora as adorably branded by Sega, it might very well be the first web series ever created. Players even had a dedicated message board they could discuss every episode on. Feel free to add this to the Japan already did it 30 years ago pile. There are 2 other RMJ developers that caught my eye, the elusive Idea Men as the credits call them. One of these Idea Men is Choji Yoshikawa, whose main thing is being the story writer for a couple of Battle Arena to Shinden games. That's already pretty funny, but the second Idea Man is even better. Satoki Mizuhara only has 1 director credit to his name, and it's for the game Countdown Vampires, a game I discovered shares a lot of staff with RMJ. You can see it too, in the menu design, the expensive and flashy but also slightly awkward cutscenes, the vampire virus in question being something you can actually cure in enemies you've downed. But forget all that. Remember Misato, the allegedly mysterious beauty? She's in Countdown Vampires. And she mentions having been through a certain incident at a hospital.
I came here as a VIP guard.
My name is Misato. Misato Hayakawa.
She's actually the shirtless, tribal-tatted main character's love interest. I guess she was a key player after all, just not an RMJ. You see, Misato caught a peculiar disease while studying overseas. Said disease overwrites the host's personality with that of a vampire, giving them a taste for human blood. The hospital is where she treats said disease. I didn't know you could catch vampirism like the common cold, but sure. This bit of information doesn't come from Countdown Vampires, but the official RMJ novel adaptation. It makes total sense. She does suck the life out of everything. This is not related to anything at all, but I found some amusing Japanese fan art for RMJ while researching it. It comes from an abandoned game blog where the owner would talk about obscure games and provide her opinions on them. In her RMJ post, the owner mentions reviewing it 10 years after release, meaning this is an archived post from around 2007. Further investigation reveals this was a short-lived personal blog by the name of Otaku Crusader, created by the mangaka Haruyoshi Kobayakawa, mainly known for her series Rain Monster. Her favorite games are Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, the Megami Tensei franchise, Drakengard, and anything Capcom, especially Street Fighter. She has a Twitter alt dedicated to drawing BL. Here's her Bishonen rendition of Cielo from Digital Devil Saga. Elsewhere in her blog is a gigantic archive of nearly 20 years worth of fan art, everything from JoJo to Yakuza to whatever else she likes. My favorite is his depiction of Drakengard's Route A final boss. But her greatest work has to be this blog post where she refers to Tomoe as seriously adorable top-tier little brother material. I think there's a certain picture forming here. She remarks that the game's graphics really show their age, but this level of character animation and movement was very impressive for the time. She also enjoyed the amount of borderline penny shots in the cutscenes. Her first drawing is a character introduction, while the second depicts her favorite moment in the game. Hajime and Aya stumble upon an ancient hidden temple, because of course they do, and they both do the exact same over-the-top cartoon character reaction to it. According to Kobayakawa, this made her laugh so hard she nearly cried. It's definitely a game where opinions will vary wildly, but I, Haruyoshi, will stubbornly recommend it anyway. Wow, this game sounds cool, maybe I should talk about it. We're treated to a helpful recap as we load our autosave. On our way to the security room, Tomoe freaks out about being infected with lamia only to play it off as a joke. I believe there's a secret scene here if you examine the stretcher in the dark hallway. We uncover the bloody corpse of a man whom Aya recognizes as Yamada. The game gives us no further context as to who Yamada is, which is where the strategy guide comes in handy. Let's see. Goro Yamada, 52 years old. A security guard at ST General Hospital. After being laid off from a construction company and getting divorced from his wife, he experienced a series of misfortunes, including being assaulted by teenage delinquents the day before starting a new job. By the time of the main story, he has already died from an infection by the lamia virus, and is left covered by a white sheet on a stretcher on the first floor of the hospital. His hobby is model trains. Oh my god, Yamada-san, I'm so sorry. Anyway, so the security room. You could actually use this monitor in the Tails route to spy on the other characters, but now the second floor cameras are all offline on account of having blown up.
はじめ
Oh god, shut the fuck. Using the director's key on a nearby locker gets us the game's second unique mechanic, the virus level checker. This watch basically works like a Geiger counter. The more infected an area of the hospital is, the longer and faster it'll beep. The square button lets you see the exact virus level in your life gauge, which depletes according to the danger level of each area. Losing all your life will result in Hajime's face exploding. Tomoe freaks out again and runs away with Ryo chasing after him. And only then does the registered nurse in our party realize that the guy whose skin has been melting off for the past 5 minutes is actually infected with something. In order to prevent a similar fate, I head to the 3rd floor and get some healing items. Hanging around infected areas for too long is obviously a bad idea, but it's not a constant worry or anything. Again, RMJ isn't hard. It's clearly designed for the more casual crowd, and I think it's actually better for it. It lets Seicom convey everything through mood and atmosphere, which is the specialty, rather than contrive some burdensome, court-mandated capital G gameplay that slows everything to a crawl. Just check out the walkthrough if you get lost. It's very helpful. Every now and then the words "No Fear" will flash on the screen along with the sound effect. I'm not sure, but I think this is telling you the screen you're currently on isn't infected, so you won't lose any life while on it. Our objective now is to find Tomoe and Ryo while also figuring out a cure for the former's infection. We should be able to treat him with medicine and the vaccine injector. Going back to the 1st floor, we can now access the surgery room since the power's back on. There's nothing here except a suspicious bloodstain on the operating table and the injector we need. The 4th floor is really the only place left, so we go there next. Here's half of a cutscene because I started recording way too late, and now we can go back to the surgery room and save Tomoe. We also take the vaccine, which acts as a full heal in case you've spent too much time walking around blind. Ryo gives us an ID card which you can use at a nearby elevator to finally leave the game's first area. Using the ID card opens up a secret passage behind the elevator to some kind of laboratory. Tomoe's infection is now back after being cured for a whole 3 minutes. No shit, a mass-murdering virus wouldn't go away that easy.
本当にラミアになっちゃったの？
大丈夫。きっと嘘ばっかり。
And then the hospital explodes a 3rd time. Oh my god, it's Sci-Fi Door 6039_24_1 from the original General Series 6000 sound effect library. It's my favorite noise in the world. We're in a room that seems meant for decontamination and an alarm goes off. Everyone's super scared as usual, but it's really not my problem. Oh yep, there it is again. A door closes ominously behind us. Hajime slips inside of a positive pressure suit and then begins what might honestly be one of the coolest sequences I've ever played in a PS1 game. You're all alone within the BSL-4 virus research lab. There's no sound except for your heartbeats and your labored breathing. Your surroundings are spotless and sterile, but death still hangs in the air. The suit comes with its own slowly depleting oxygen system. Your objective here is to identify the viruses and retrieve their respective vaccines before you run out of air. Nearly every step you take is punctuated with panicked radio calls from Hajime's friends, wondering what's going on or where he is. The Lamia virus is cured by the LA-87 vaccine. Tomoe obviously matches all the symptoms, and we can confirm the cause of death from first-hand experience. The Beelzebub virus seems to be an even deadlier version of Lamia and is cured by the BB99 vaccine. It's clear to me this hospital serves a much more sinister purpose than we thought. The Dagon bacteria is cured by DN932. The Wraith bacteria makes you vomit to death. I like how the cure in the original game obviously says RS for Reisu, but the fan translation had to change it to WR. Same thing with Lamia being RA. And finally we have the scary unknown virus that turns you into the human goo from Parasite Eve that fucked me up so bad as a kid that I hid my disc in the closet because I thought Eve was gonna come out and kill me. One room over, Aya tries to reassure everybody until she breaks into a coughing fit. Something's gone wrong with her as well. In this room we can use the virus samples we picked up around the lab and test them on this blobby worm thing. It's so you can visually observe your symptoms for treating your friends later. We head into the next room and pick up 2 of each vaccine. Whatever Aya's condition is, it's rapidly deteriorating as she appears to be immobilized. As we head into the computer room, the soft melody begins to play over the incredibly tense soundscape. It really brings it all together. The situation feels genuinely dire and hopeless. There's no scary monsters to fight or run away from here, just an invisible pathogen slowly killing you from the inside. It's a perfectly executed moment of drama in a game that's been mostly ignored or presented as some dumb wacky kusoge. Instructions on using the experiment machine and some safety guidelines regarding the goo virus. The page about influenza features completely unrelated text from a Wikia page concerning Linear Canon, a character from the GameCube roguelike RPG Evolution Worlds. I would be annoyed at this kind of flippant translator in-joke if the game didn't immediately blindside me with a fucking B-movie script reference. Now listen, while I do have brain damage, I did not buy the Retrograde Amnesia DLC, and I know damn well the year is 2025 and I'm playing a translation released in 2022 of a game that came out in 1997. So why the fuck am I looking at a Tumblr meme reference from 2015? Are you gonna show me Paul Blart next? Gonna hide a Dashcon ball pit texture somewhere? The second option on the terminal is far more interesting. The first thing we find is basically an ad for RMJ's website, now kept on life support by the Wayback Machine. Sadly, there's almost nothing to see here. It seems like the website skeleton was all they could archive. The most I could uncover was Rio on his Shadow the Hedgehog shit and also a set photo, likely from a commercial shoot for the game. Said commercial is nowhere to be found online. Click the other icon and we see a strange message. We can see special photos of Aya here if we input a certain keyword as her name. That keyword obviously being trippers, like it says at the bottom. Here I am on the second playthrough after doing just that, and sure enough, they weren't kidding. Aya, if she real. I don't think this woman is actually credited or named anywhere regarding this game, so she must have just been some model they hired and used as a base for Aya's character. This is a very charming Easter egg either way. It seems to be the only reason this game even has a name entry, aside from having you in the credits. In many dreamers. We should probably go back to the emergency at hand. We can get a laser system key from the terminal, which means we now have everything we need to go back and cure our friends. You can see me briefly freaking out here and trying to get through the door with almost no air left. Tomoe and Aya are both writhing in agony on the floor. Saving him is easy enough, but Aya has these gross dark spots all over her body. If you paid attention during class, you know that means she's suffering from Dagon. We can use the DN932 vaccine and prevent her from becoming black. I think they show Misato crying in the scene to imply she does care about Tomoe and is glad to see him well. I don't know what the point is though, since her heart clearly belongs to Keith J. Snyder.
What?
We use the key and disable the lasers, lighting even deeper down into the facility. Oh fuck. Okay, hold on. There's about 40 minutes left in the game and most of them are gigantic lore dump cutscenes with very confusing twists. The game is done being clever at this point, but the rest is still wildly entertaining nonsense. I can't complain. I won't be describing what happens from here on out, as I think that would be doing the game a disservice, and also I frankly just don't know what's happening. Okay, well, I'll show you one thing.
Where's drugs? I got it!
There you go. I spent some time in my Seven Blades video talking about the cinematic game and how it used to be an honest and valid concept, in Japanese hands at least. RMJ has now become a very worthy addition to that canon. Through it, I was able to find a clear link between System Seicom's adventure games and late 90s Japanese television and film production. The practice of hiring filmmakers to work on games, the process of digitizing real actors, it's all here. Full cross-pollination between media industries. This is the environment that let the guy who made Slipknot's masks design a first-person horror pinball game just for his own amusement. Honestly, I'm surprised TVSI didn't publish RMJ as well. Why not? I was really worried they would have all the frustrating generic game things so common in old games of this style, but these fears were thankfully unfounded. Seicom have proven themselves to me, and I will definitely check out the rest of their library somewhere in the future. I think they've created some very special games, and I'd be a fool not to study them further. RMJ lasts exactly as long as it should, and does everything it sets out to do. There's no wasted potential here, no good ideas let down by poor execution. It feels complete, for lack of a better word. It's definitely a game where opinions will vary wildly, but I will stubbornly recommend it anyway.